there, Mara here again. For today, I'm going to be talking about the changes I've noticed in my vision. As always, I'm not saying this is going to be the same experience everybody will have, just explaining what I'm seeing. First off, before I transitioned, I already considered myself very good with colors. I don't have color blindness of any sort, so far as I can tell. I regularly worked with a variety of colors in my job, which is web programming, especially when working on the front end, and I could clearly distinguish colors just fine in mock-ups and when images had small discrepancies or the like from what they were supposed to be. I've done graphics on computer software for literally decades, since I was about 13, when I copied images I saw in video games down as pixels on graph paper to then put those images into graphics programs on another computer, or just when I got into a graphics program. I did it manually. I didn't have screen capturing going on. I think these were pretty good copies and for just eyeballing it on the screen. But as far as transitioning goes, the first change I noticed is back here. Maybe you noticed that I have a different piece of artwork up. Instead of a scene from Montezuma's Revenge, now I have a rendition of Vega from the Street Fighter series. So this piece is mostly a monochrome piece in black and white, with some gray splatters in the background and a splash of yellow in areas just as a highlight. I think it's really cool. I've had this up on my wall literally for years above our water cooler. It's normally over there, which obviously with the way the camera's set up, you're not going to see it from where you are. But obviously, we are now looking at it through a camera and then on your computer or cell phone screen or whatever device you're seeing it on. So you're not seeing what I'm about to talk about. About 4 months into HRT, I walked into the room and looked at the artwork like I normally do. I like to look at my artwork and appreciate it on occasion. And I noticed, instead of looking like this, actually it's going to be over here. Instead of looking like this, it looked like this. That's right. All of this time, I thought it was just yellow and monochrome, but it's actually got purples in it. And there were purples, very faint, there in the background, and the splatters were purple, and you could even see the snake tattoo on Vega's chest here in dark purple. I never saw this detail. I always saw it as black and white. So it was really cool. One day just walking in, it's like, wow, it's got purple. And my wife thought I was a little crazy at first until I explained it. But now I can see it, and I think it makes it even more striking. I think it's a really great piece of artwork. Quite happy to have it. So apparently I really do see colors more vibrantly now than I used to. And that's the only explanation I could really come up with. I certainly do love a wider range of colors than I appreciated before, such as that peacock blue outfit I wore last week. So pretty. Anyways, the second change I started noticing was around the same time period, but I thought it was my imagination at first. I would walk into, say, a dark room, and the darkness felt, well, spookier, darker, scarier, more unknowable. I wasn't quite sure. It was odd. I felt like darkness was just scarier. I guess is the best way of putting it. And it seemed like the contrast of light areas versus dark areas made it so that the dark areas just got washed out. They got less, I couldn't see as much detail in them. But then as the seasons moved on and it got to fall and then it was getting darker and darker outside, I live in the Northwest. It gets dark pretty early now. It's December now. But I noticed my night vision went from pretty decent to pretty bad just over the course of this year. So the details in darkness for me don't exist all that much at all anymore. And I've taken some video to demonstrate how I feel like this is before and after. So on the right here, imagine that this is how it looked vaguely. I mean, this isn't perfect, but this is basically how it looked to me before, and this is how it looks to me now. And you'll notice that it seems to have a bit more contrast, but the darks are darker, and there's less visible in them. So I had to look into this online, and there weren't a whole lot of studies on this, but the ones I found that studied the differences between men's vision and women's vision, there seems to be sort of a consensus that matches what I was seeing. Women see colors more vividly, and men can see details and movement more clearly. One report in particular said, differences in testosterone levels promote drastically different organization of the neurons in the visual cortex in men and women. So infographics like this have showed up in a few places, showing that women have a larger color vocabulary, which may or may not be just a learned skill. I know I've had to be a lot more precise when naming colors since switching my gender presentation. I now clearly know the difference between burgundy, maroon, magenta, red, rouge, rose, and so on. Not to mention a variety of pinks. I mean, these aren't the same pink at all, but I think they're just so cute together. So, it works. It's also important when trying to coordinate colors to be able to tell them apart. This might be why I didn't notice the difference so much in my vision until after I had a real sample to look at back here with the art again. But in one study, they studied light bars and dark bars flickering at different rates and different thicknesses. And overall, men were better than women at seeing the bars, especially as they got thinner and thinner. The conclusion is that men were able to see changes in brightness across their vision better, or when things were moving rapidly, such as when they were flickering faster. So, has anybody else noticed anything particularly interesting changing in their vision? Most samples I've found online from trans women aren't very precise about it. Most of the time they just say colors got more vibrant and don't really emphasize any more beyond that. Is it just me, or do other people notice this? In any case, I thought it was interesting enough to share, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye! Now you get lots of pets. It's the moment she was waiting for.